Golf Smarter, number 696. Hey, stay tuned after this interview to hear if you're the winner of a dozen golf balls of your choice from twoguyswithgolfballs.com. And I'll also let you know how you can get a free online version of Tony Manzoni's complete video of the Lost Fundamental. Getting into the mindset and pre-shot routine of great golfers with Roger Gunn.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Roger.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Hey, when you stopped in the middle of Roger, I was like, yeah, I thought you were going to keep going.
Okay, well, let's try that again then. Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Roger.
Thanks, Fred.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Take 3.
Oh.
Here we go. Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Roger.
Thanks, Fred.
How are you?
I'm great. How you been?
I'm doing well. It's great to have you back on the show.
Thank you so much.
We're giggling because it took us 3 tries just to say welcome back.
Hey, I had 3 more tries in me. We were going to get it right.
I think everybody needs to hear all 3. I think this is a good thing. Okay, so we're recording this on the second day of the 2019 U.S. Open, which is being held at Pebble Beach. And it seems to be that and Torrey Pines seem to be the 2 courses on the West Coast that the PGA likes. I don't know if it's just an anti-West Coast thing because they're a Florida-based group or what, but why are they so selective of these few courses on the West Coast? Or is it that these few courses are so much better than everything else?
Well, I would say there's a lot of factors that go into a PGA Tour venue. It's not just about the golf course. There's accommodations, venues, parking, where they can set up the concessions and the tents to sell the merchandise and all that stuff. So it's a gigantic production.
Yeah.
Obviously those 2 courses have done a ton of these, and so they're, a known product. And, they've got the U.S. Open coming to Los Angeles at LA Country Club. And, I think they're going to use a lot of the South Course for parking and things like that. So anyways, there's a lot more that goes into it. But
yeah, and also in 2020, the PGA Championship's coming to Harding Park in San Francisco.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I used to play Harding Park back in the day when it was just, sort of a open to the public, but not like really nice. It was just
right.
a course in the city there. And
I love that golf course.
Yeah, fabulous place.
And now it's a TPC course too.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a wonderful place. So many great courses in the city in San Francisco with Olympic Club and Lake Merced and San Francisco Golf Club, which, is almost like Cypress Point. It's fabulous and everybody knows that, but you can't play it. So,
exactly. Yeah, but forget about going out there.
Yeah, unfortunately. But, talking about Pebble Beach, it's been my feeling for a long, long time that Pebble Beach is the best designed golf course in the world. So why would I say that? The designing a golf course, it's easy as can be to design a hard golf course. You can design an easy golf course too. But what it's really hard to do is to design a golf course that has different levels of risk-reward and gives you an appropriate penalty. So, in other words, I can design a par 3 that's 220 yards carry over water the whole way. And the guy that hits it a half a groove thin and hits the railroad ties and goes in the water on the front edge of the green has to play his shot from the same spot as the guy that cold tops it right in front of the tee box. So there was no sort of appropriate penalty for the shot that was struck. It's the same penalty. And Pebble's not like that. Pebble, you can play with different styles, first of all, and then we'll get back to the penalty aspect there. But you can play Pebble boldly. And if you pull it off, you're going to be rewarded with easier shots. and consequently a better score. But if you try to be bold and you don't pull it off, you're going to get hammered for it. So what I've always said is that if you hit a great shot at Pebble, you're going to be rewarded. If you hit a medium shot, you're going to get a medium result and have a medium difficulty next shot. And if you hit a poor shot, you're going to know about it. So you're going to have a bad penalty, and you're going to have a very tough next shot. So I've played with guys. I've played Pebble quite a bit. I've played with guys who played it well. I remember a guy named John O'Neill who I played with. I think it was in the State Am. He shot the easiest 67 you could ever imagine. He was never in trouble and, played the golf course appropriately. Look at 18 as a perfect example. You can smash a driver and take a very bold line, and if you pull it off, you're going to be able to hit the green in two. You get rewarded. You can also play it with hybrid off the tee and kind of bunt it out there and bunt another one out there and have a 7-iron to the green. So it'll let you do that. Some of the golf courses, they won't let you do that. You have a forced carry of 240 yards just to get to the short grass. So that's what I really like about Pebble so much.
Do you think that it was designed? I'm sorry, Roger. Do you think it was designed intentionally that way to be high risk reward, or is it just coincidental that it ended up that way?
That's a great question. I don't have the answer, unfortunately. If I were to make a guess, I would say yes. That it was designed that way, and and like I say, you just add to it just the most spectacular views and being on the ocean there. You got the sea otters playing in the ocean, and it's just an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, and some of the video images are spectacular.
It's fantastic.
In regards to being, understanding why courses get selected now as a great description, I guess that we'll never see the PGA Tour at places like Bandon Dunes, just because they don't have the infrastructure to handle the crowds, the TV, the press, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, just having, tens of thousands of people, hotel rooms, where are you going to put them? There's a golf course that's long been regarded as a fantastic course in Scotland called Western Gales, but it has no amenities. So it's not in the open rotation in terms of, Turnberry and Troon and St. Andrews and all those. But that's just part of the thing. Carnoustie was like that for quite some time, actually, but they, built up their infrastructure and, made it a great venue.
I remember talking to someone at, I think it was TPC Scottsdale, and they were talking about how the TPC courses are built to have gallery areas to allow people to sit on the hillsides, and a lot of the greens are like in these bowls because they want to be able to line people all the way around it.
Greatest thing in the world, I'm telling you. I remember going to the Phoenix Open. They had 100,000 people out that day, and usually you might try to park yourself on one of the last few holes and wait there all day. And I actually went around and watched a number of different spots because of that ability to do that. So, the mounding around the tee boxes and whatnot. If you have a raised tee box and no area to get up high, then there's basically one or two lines of people that get to see the play, and everybody else sees nothing. So, the mounding and stuff around these TPC courses is just fantastic, unbelievable how great the viewing is. And so it works.
Yeah. We had an opportunity. The Golf Smarter audience and myself went and played TPC Scottsdale the week after the Phoenix Open, the Waste Management Open.
Yeah.
And all the grandstands were still up. And
oh my goodness.
And number 16, walk through that tunnel, and you come to that par 3, which is the biggest party in golf. And it was empty and so intimidating, I couldn't believe it. It was like we were all complaining about how our knees were shaking at the tee box. There was nobody there to look at us.
Yes. Well, it's one thing to have, a few million people watching you through a TV camera, but it's another thing to have them actually surrounding you. Obviously there's not that many, but when there's thousands and thousands just peering right on top of you, it's quite
screaming
something.
at you. I mean, that
Well,
place goes nuts.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not so sure that golf shouldn't be more that way.
I was going to ask you, do you think that's good for golf? Because it sure seems to be a lot of fun, and it's become this annual event of Super Bowl weekend where people, my son went for years and just had the best time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not so sure that's a great future for golf, to have it super quiet and slow. I mean, that's just not what's happening in the world today with people. When they want information, they have it in the snap of a finger just by reaching in their pocket and pulling out their phone. And you can order things and just the whole
dude, you're
the whole
so
culture
20th
of it.
century. You look at your wrist and all the information is right there.
Right. So getting that fun in there, I think, is great. I mean, I'm certainly a traditionalist, but I also see that for to get young people out to play and have fun and to watch it might be a great thing.
Did you ever play in a competition there was a rowdy crowd beyond just a drunk person, but a rowdy crowd that?
No, I mean, my era of playing in front of a lot of people, I suppose the last time, 2012, I guess, in the Senior Open I played, there were thousands roaming around, but no, I haven't had them do that. I mean, that really, I think, was started in the Ryder Cup, where some of the players were saying, "Hey, you don't need to be quiet on the first tee here. Let's hear it."
Mm-hmm.
So Ricky did that, and Bubba Watson. So it's kind of a new phenomenon, really.
Yeah, it's a new generation of golfers, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It's curious. You have played in front of thousands of people in person. What's that like? I mean, if the guys who are playing behind you are waiting at the tee box, that's too much pressure. So what's it like with a bunch of people with who are
that's a great question.
Fans?
Yeah, it's not like what you would think, because the average golfer would look at that like, I mean, that's just got to be the most terrifying thing in the world. But first of all, for a player like that, I mean, and I wouldn't put myself in this category, at least certainly not anymore. But when a PGA Tour player is about to hit a golf ball, I mean, he's got a 95% chance that the earth is going to shake when he hits it, and it's going to go rocketing down the fairway, or at least be a decent shot. He's not going to flub the thing, or that it's and so it turns into something more like, hey, this is going to be cool. Watch this, everybody. Instead of, oh my gosh, these people are here to mess me up, or to watch me mess up. It's more like, I'm going to show these people something cool. And the other thing is just the golf course itself, where the tour player doesn't look at the golf course like, oh, this is so hard, I can't believe it. They look at it like, this golf course has nowhere to hide from me, because I'm going to smash this thing down the fairway. I'm going to hit it close to the hole, and I'm going to make the putt. And if I don't do that on this hole, I'm going to do it on the next hole. And so, they're not intimidated by the situation. So it becomes fun. I mean, if I were to say to you, okay, Fred, we're going to have you hit a tee shot in front of 1 million people. They're all going to be there live. You'd have an instant heart attack. But if I said, I have a magic wand and I'm going to tap you on the shoulder and it's going to be the best drive you ever hit, then you'd say, oh, that's okay, sure. That'll be fun. And so that's really what it's like for the people playing on TV and in front of crowds like that.
Yeah, frequently when you're watching with somebody or you're talking about it, they're like, God, I couldn't do that with all those people there. It's like, how do they do that? How do they accomplish that? Well, first of all, they've played hundreds and hundreds of competitive rounds. It's not, and I don't mean just weekend golf. I'm talking about 3 and 4 day rounds of competitions where you got to be consistent. You got to stay focused, which is, oh my God, how difficult is that to do when you're doing it days in a row like that? So the level of competition and the being in the competition is what they're trained to do. I think the thing that changes is bringing in the crowds when you get to that level. I mean, even the web.com tour doesn't have those type of crowds. They get people to show up, but not thousands and thousands of people on the golf course at once.
Yeah, I think there's a point to where it's not going to matter to that person anymore. I mean, having 3 people deep on either side of a fairway, which might encompass a few thousand people, which is nothing like 100,000. At a certain point, it's like, right, all eyes are on me. There's a whole bunch of people here. Great. Now, where's my target? Oh, right there. I'm going to hit a knockdown 7-iron at that target. Caddy, give me the club. I'm focused. Here I go. I mean, it's really turns into that. It's not something that really is on the player's mind that much.
Yeah.
You know, it's getting back to the job at hand.
Yeah. When I was working in baseball for a number of years, I remember I was working at a game in Atlanta, and this is the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. So we're talking 2 stadiums ago for the Atlanta Braves. And there was a game against the Phillies, and one of the guys on the Phillies was someone that I knew from being on the Oakland A's, a guy named Dwayne Murphy. And we went out for a drink after the game, but there were 2 rain delays in this game. So the game didn't finish till about 1:45 in the morning, right? And
goodness, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just these long rain delays, but they wouldn't let him go, and they had to stick it out. And it's like one of the first things he said to me is, that's why I like dome stadiums. I don't know why everyone complains about dome stadiums, because you're going to get the game started on time, and it's going to finish, after 9 innings. But he said to me that by the time, and the Braves for many years were really, really bad. Then they had this great stretch in the 90s or whatever it was. But so by the time the game was over, there was about 1,500 people in the stands. Now, I had to be there because I was working. And I remember Dwayne telling me that when there's a lot of people in the, you prefer a full house because then the noise becomes white noise. Then it's just background. He says, but when there was 1,500 people in the stands, you can hear people talking. And it's really annoying. He says people would talk to me or screaming at me or making fun of me or whatever they do. And I could hear it, and it was really distracting, and I didn't like it. I thought that was an amazing story.
Yeah, it might be more distracting to have that guy drive by in the mower than it would be to have a whole bunch of people watching.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see that.
Yeah. I think that I see, I watch basketball games, college and professional basketball games, and last night the NBA season ended and my Warriors lost.
Yes, sadly.
It was, but boy, what a valiant attempt, and it's like, okay, we lost, but wow, what a run that was. Anyway, when someone's shooting a free throw and the crowd behind the basket's all going nuts, well, that becomes white noise. That's not distracting to these players because it's just all movement and you can just block it out. I always thought they should move as one, right? So if everybody had if they lean their hands to the left all at the same time, and then just as the guy was about to shoot, everyone does this move where they slide their hands to the right. Then it's a wave of people. That would be distracting. I don't know why somebody doesn't
organize. That would be
extremely
distracting. But the other one would be to have everyone sit perfectly locked still, and one person is supposed to spring up right before the guy shoots, and so he's wondering which person that's going to be. that would also be very unnerving, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take a quick time out. We'll be right back. I'm really fascinated about the mindset for a pro golfer and what distracts them and what doesn't, because we've seen players who all of it, they're in a backswing and you hear a click and they freak out. And yet there's thousands of people there.
Yeah, it is kind of funny, what gets in the way of a player and what they find distracting. I know that Tiger and his dad used to work on that very thing where his dad would try to mess him up and talk to him while he's making his swing and things like that.
That was just emotional abuse, though.
Yeah, well, later on, on the tour, he was known for backing off at numerous times. So, maybe it didn't stick, but it is true. I mean, just, it probably spans the spectrum. I mean, there are some players that might not even hear you when you're doing that, and others are completely distracted. They're just so good that they hit the good shot anyway, even though they were distracted. So
Yeah.
it's a very funny thing.
Wow. How much of it has to do with like a pre-shot routine and getting interrupted in their pre-shot routine and having to start all over? Is on the pro level, is the pre-shot routine so strict for each guy, or so disciplined that if it's broken at all, they have to start all over?
No, I wouldn't say it's that way, that the expert player has to start completely over. There are some elements that can help with that, and that can help every golfer, to tell you the truth, and that is to have a good pre-shot routine. And so, folks hear that, and it's kind of a shoulder shrug, but I'd like to talk about that if you allow me.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, so you're preparing for the second and a half that you're going to be hitting your shot, really, is what it's all about, so that you're at that moment, that your mind is quiet and you're focused and you can do your thing. So Trevino was a great example of that, as he could be telling stories and whatnot, but I mean, when it came to hitting that shot, he was 100% there. And so it really starts with your decision-making process. So as you're getting to your golf ball, it's time to take in all the factors of yardage, wind, conditions, the weather, uphill, downhill, how hard is the green, where do you want this ball to finish, relative to the pin, is there trouble out there? So you're processing all this information to try to choose the shot that you want to hit. This happens before the club even comes out of the bag. So you're standing there deciding. And then once you make your decision, so you say, okay, this is going to be a 3/4 8-iron. I want to hit it about 10 feet right of the hole because I got some trouble over there on the left. I need to give myself a little leeway. So it's going to be a 3/4 8-iron, and I think I want to hit this a little bit low to get the trajectory I want. Okay, so now my 8-iron comes out of the bag. I've decided what I'm going to do. So there's no more processing information like that. So now it gets down to, how am I going to hit that shot? What's the best way for me to prepare? So back in the day, it was Scott Simpson would make a complete full swing as if there was a golf ball there. Lanny Watkins might make a little waist-high to waist-high practice swing. Whatever it is, whatever you need to do to prepare yourself to hit that shot. And your mind can start to quiet because you're not processing stuff. You're not saying, oh, but what about that hazard on the left? I already took care of it. I'm aiming 10 feet to the right. So distractions don't come in as easily. Then once you make your practice swing, whatever that's going to look like, then you visualize your shot. So you're trying to see what it looks like to you. It can be whatever your choice is. You can see a golf ball flying through the air. You can see it at its apex of its height. You can see it at its landing point, whatever works for you. Or it could be a little mini fighter jet that's flying through the air. Or it can be sparklers, or whatever it is that you see in your mind, to give yourself a really clear picture of what you're trying to do. So that, again, you're not distracted. You know exactly what you're trying to do. You're locking into that shot. And then, it's time to pick out a spot and line up the club face and all that good stuff, so that you can make your setup. But the visualization, again, prepares you to hit that shot. And then the most important part, perhaps, of the pre-shot routine is that you need to be committed. So it's time to commit to this shot. I've chosen what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to do. And then the icing on the cake, so that's like the cake, okay? The icing on the cake is to use your visualization and commitment and anticipate that something good is going to happen. I can't overstate that part of it. So let's imagine that there's a lake over to the left, and you say, okay, I've visualized my shot, and here it goes, and I'm going to commit, but boy, am I scared of that lake over there. It's right there. And all of a sudden you fan the shot way over to the right because you're afraid of that. No, that's not anticipating that something good is going to happen. So you've got something in your mind that says that something bad might happen. No, What you want to do is say, there's my target. I'm committing to this target. I see that good shot in my mind. And, when you anticipate that something good is going to happen, you stay relaxed and you make your best swing at it. So that one can't be overstated, is that the specter of something bad happen will wreck you just about every time.
And what about the thought, the training that you can anticipate something good happen, but you have to be aware of 3 different things that could happen, right? You get, well, if I screw it up, it'll do this. If I hit it well, it'll be okay and do this, but here's what I want to do, right? I mean, don't you have to be aware of what your trouble is before you get too aggressive?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you notice there, I never mentioned anything about being bold or being conservative.
Mm-hmm.
That has to do with the strategy, which that happened before the club ever came out of the bag. Mm-hmm. So remember, that was the time for processing that information of where is the trouble. And, a good example would be a par 5. So let's say I'm a player that a comfortable carry for me with a 3-wood is 220, let's say. And let's say that I've got 215 over a creek to hit to a par 5 in 2. And let's say that short of the green, if you go in that creek, the drop area is really easy. It's an easy shot. So even if I go splash, I'm going to have a really good chance at par. So all of a sudden it becomes a percentage play for me to hit to the green in 2. And so now as I'm looking at the target, even as I'm standing over the ball, if I go, oh, that creek is making me nervous, that doesn't come in there as much because you've already, basically gone over it in your mind. You've processed that information. It's a percentage play for you to go for it, and it really helps to quiet your mind. Whatever target you choose, which can be a bold target or a conservative target, you want to make a bold, committed swing at that target. So even if you're aiming, well to the safe side because of a certain problem out there, when you choose the shot, you have to commit and make a bold swing at that target, even if it's a conservative target.
Frequently when I'm playing with people, and maybe I'm playing with the wrong people, but so, I'm with mid-handicap players, a lot of guys in their 12 to 18 handicap. And a thought of, okay, I need to be 10 feet right of the pin never crosses their mind. That's too specific. That's something that they hope someday they can accomplish if they ever get to maybe a 10 or a 9, right, on the handicap.
Yep.
And so they're just like, God, I just hope I hit the ball well this time, or I don't screw up my swing. Or they're not that specific. Should they be?
Great question, and I would say that they could derive a lot of benefit from that. Absolutely, because let's say that you have a hole. Oh my goodness, let's see if we can figure out one. A famous hole like Pebble Beach, for example. So let's say that we're going to go to the back pin on number 7, so a little par 3 down the hill, and that player sees that there's a huge problem going long of that green. You're not going to get it up and down. You got no chance. So let's say that player says, okay, I'm going to take a club that basically can't get to this pin. I'm going to stay a little bit on the safe side of it, on the short side. So that way, all of a sudden, his window of opportunity becomes much greater, because if he misses it short, he's still going to have a chip shot at that pin, as opposed to going long where he was trying to get it close, and now he's got no shot. So, respecting those things that can really hurt your score can be huge. You might aim, you might even aim away from a green entirely. If it's a green that's sticking out in the middle of the water and you're not confident with your game, well, hit it over to a place where you can make par or bogey, but nothing worse. So, I think that applies at virtually any handicap level. I had a guy one time, I was playing with him, and he had a fairway bunker shot, and it was a deep fairway bunker. And the shot was about 210, and on the front part of the green, going to about 30 yards short of the green was like a canyon. So he hops in there with his forward, and I said, Frank, you're, first of all, more than half of the time you're not even going to get out of the bunker with that club. And the other part of the time when you do get out of the bunker, you're going to hit it in that hazard many, many times, if not most. I said, it's not a percentage play. He goes, yeah, you're probably right. 3 iron? And I said, 8 iron. So he goes, what? I said, look, you're 210 here. If you get 110 yards out of this thing or 120, you're going to have an easy little wedge shot to the green. So it's that kind of thought process for a player who was no expert, but look at what he was trying to do. He was asking himself to do something that was very difficult and not really processing what might happen if it didn't come off.
It's the classic Johnny Miller, red light, yellow light, green light.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And I unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately as a teacher, so many of those, it's just the school of hard knocks. I mean, you try something, and I think that's important to take note of, by the way, is that if you ever hit a shot that you would have considered to be a good shot on the range, where it was like, okay, that was reasonably struck and it went reasonably where I was trying to go, that's a good shot. But on the course it ends up in a bad place, you just made a management error. So figure out what it was. What factor did you miss where you hit a pretty decent shot and it ended up in a bad place? Oh, my 8 iron doesn't go 140, it goes 150. Or this hole is actually a little more uphill than I thought, or I misjudged the wind. So that's a great way to learn. Having played golf for 50 years myself, I still learn every time I play. So, and it's because of, keeping a pulse on those types of things. Is a lot of times you learn from your mistakes a lot more than you would from a successful shot.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've said, oh, I like the shot, I just hated the results.
Well, I mean, there's the strategy, and then there's the commitment and the execution.
Yeah.
So I mean, you might have perfect strategy, you might be committed, and we're not robots, so you're going to miss sometimes.
Yeah, and I think actually conversely, what happens more is that I had a bad swing. I wasn't happy with the swing, but the results were okay. Right?
Well, that's when you're becoming a good golfer. I mean, that's what that is that, you made your strategy and took into account things that could hurt your score and give yourself a little leeway so that you can miss it a little bit and still have an okay result.
So if it is an opportunity or a moment where it's like, okay, that wasn't a bad shot, it was an error of judgment.
Yeah.
Right.
So learn.
So yeah,
learn.
you gotta, there's your post-shot routine, right? You gotta go through in your head.
Absolutely. Why is it that you just pured that shot and it's nowhere near the hole? What did you miss? You missed a factor. Where is it? so that way when you're in that circumstance the next time, you know what to do. And for the player who's becoming better and better, knowing how far your clubs go is also huge. If you asked Gary Woodland how far he hits his 7 iron, he's going to say 183. So he's not going to hit you with between 170 and 185. He's not going to hit you with that. So, for the average player also, if you just pured a shot, a 7 iron that went 145, and it was calm conditions under, no elevation change or anything like that. Well, if you need to hit that 150 on another hole, you better do something about it, either swing bigger or de-loft it or do something, or go get another club. So it's not going to just magically go the 5 yards extra because your normal one goes 145. So, that's also a huge part of becoming a good player is to know how far your clubs are going.
You know what we call that? You know what we call that, Roger?
What's that?
Come on, audience, out loud. You can do it. I know. Let Roger hear you. Yes. Golf smarter.
That was too easy.
Threw you a softball and you whiffed it, dude. Hey, how do people find you on social media these days?
Roger Gunn Golf is the best way on my Instagram. And I do have quite a few things there on some tricky shots that you'll experience out on the course, and some things to learn about strategy. So Roger Gunn Golf is my Instagram.
And make sure that you put down Roger Gunn, Gunn. It's 2 N's, Roger Gunn Golf on Instagram. Check out his videos and his tips there. And if people wanted to get some lessons from you, how do they do that?
Well, my lesson book actually lives at a website called smarterlessons.com, and you can register. It's free, and then just do a search for my name, Roger Gunn, Gunn, and it'll show you what I have available coming up.
Awesome. Roger, it's always great to talk to you. Thanks so much for making yourself available, and maybe we'll get to play Pebble together someday, and you'll tell me really how it's the greatest course ever constructed.
I would love that, Fred. Thanks so much.
Well, since your response has been so positive, I'm going to make this offer one last time, and this offer expires on August 1, 2019, just as we publish episode number 700. Wow, 700, mind-blowing. So this offer is for a free online version of Tony Manzoni's video, The Lost Fundamental. All I ask is that you submit an honest review for either Golf Smarter or Golf Smarter Mulligans from wherever you subscribe to either show. Posting to social media is nice, but unless you have thousands of followers, I ask that you put your review where you subscribe to the podcast. Once you've posted your review, email me a copy of what you've written and where you've published it. Then once I see it online, I'll send you the link with my compliments. And I know that it's going to be worth it for you because of the feedback that we get of how good Tony Manzoni's book and his video have become for so many golfers. And speaking of things for free that will improve your golf life, our next giveaway is a little different than we usually do, and that's because we're going to select 5 winners for this prize. Now, you've not heard me talk about this product on the show before because I like the product, but I don't think it requires a full 30-minute episode. In fact, the explanation you need is so short and concise that I've put a short, silly little video together that explains all you need. The prize is nifty, it's functional, and handy. Literally. The prize is called Glovelast, and it's a new way for you to care for your golf glove. Even though our little video shows us using a beat-up glove, I use Glovelast to keep my regular gloves, my new gloves that I try to keep in good shape. I use Glovelast to keep them from getting to that funky condition and make them last a lot longer. I mean, you've got to have an extra glove in your bag that you really shouldn't be keeping, right? Well, here's a way to keep your gloves lasting a lot longer. So go to our homepage at golfsmarter.com or on our YouTube page, youtube.com/golfsmartertv to see our introduction to Glovelast. So again, we're going to give 5 winners a Glovelast with the Golf Smarter logo and a carabiner so that you can hang the Glovelast on your bag to keep your gloves from getting stale, crunchy, and basically useless. The winners will be announced on episode 698, and the deadline for entry is July 14, 2019. But in the meantime, it's time to announce the winner of our latest drawing, and that's for a dozen golf balls of your choice, courtesy of Sam Hogan, who we heard on the last episode, and his company, twoguyswithgolfballs.com. After asking Alexa to pick a random number with a series number of entries, our winner is Thomas Cotter of Oswego, New York. Congratulations, Thomas, and thanks so much for your participation. I want to apologize for announcing the wrong Golf Smarter Mulligans episode last week. Apparently, my calendar got mixed up somewhere, and I missed a week. I apologize for that, too. But last week was part 2 of the 7 Myths of Golf with Bob Bondarek. And this week, we really are going to bring back the episode that focused on golf fitness and exercise with the fitness expert and instructor, Mike Peterson. Get your free subscription to Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans wherever you get your favorite podcasts, including YouTube. We're now on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and, of course, Apple Podcasts. Golf Smarter Mulligans is supported by Autoslash.com and TwoGuysWithGolfBalls.com. If you have any questions about golf balls or your game or teachers, or if you have any comments or suggestions, please click on the Hey Fred button at golfsmarter.com.